Story Chat with John Fornoff, the art and passion of storytelling. Here's your host, Bryan Bullabush.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Story Chat, our little corner of the internet where we hope to inspire and encourage y'all, you guys, yuns. I'll go northern here, yuns, on the art and passion of storytelling. John, how you doing?
Doing great. In Pittsburgh, it's yous guys or yins guys or yins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. Yeah, doing great. I'm excited. Lots of cool things happening. Oh, I forgot to tell you, just to let you know, give you the inside scoop here for everybody. We are about to launch. I didn't even tell you about this, Bryan. I should have told you. I'm sorry. It just came to me. It's like, we're about to launch the Audio Drama Institute.
Ooh.
And what we're going to do is we're going to have, it's going to be, so, save the date. It's going to be June 9 through 15. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on writing, first of all, to launch it. And I'm talking with Phil Lawler, the creator of Adventures in Odyssey, and Kathy Buchanan, amazing writer for Adventures in Odyssey and novelist as well, beloved friend. They're going to be part of this. And we're going to launch it here in person, here in Georgia. So you can come and be a part of that, learn about writing from professional writers. I'll be one of the teachers as well. So it's coming up. So save the date. We'll give you more
breaking
details.
out the big guns for that. Jeez, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. And two things we want to. It's part of my dream is to sow into next generation creatives to give them the tools to change the world, and I want to do that. And also we want to raise the bar of excellence in audio drama. So if anything, and you don't have to be an audio drama writer to enjoy the writing class we're going to do, but we're going to start there writing, and then future ones we're going to talk about writing, acting, directing, sound design, music, the whole bit. But we'll start here with writing. Have a week. We'll just enjoy being with each other, learning from Phil, hello, and Kathy, hello, and me. Hello. So we'll just have a lot of fun. It'll be great.
So when, where, and
it's going to be here
how
in
can
Georgia.
people sign up?
We'll give details later. I'll have a website,
details
all
later.
that kind of stuff. But again, that's June 9 through 15. Technically, you come in on Sunday, and then we go Monday through Saturday morning here in Valdosta, Georgia. In South Georgia, and we'll have a tour of the movie studios and all that kind of stuff going on down here, and the new recording studio. So cool stuff coming up. We'll get more details.
Exciting.
Peek there, little sneak peek. So excited. I am super excited, Bryan, about our guest.
You
today.
Always are. Oh, specifically. Okay.
Yeah, what's new, John? Super excited. Kathy Buchanan once said, "John is like any other person you would ever meet, except with 5 exclamation points." Thank you, Kathy. That's true. So anyway, but I am super excited to have Dr. Terry Glaspey with us. And we have a mutual friend, Tori Martin. Love Tori, connected us. And so grateful for Tori to do that. And then Terry, I'll tell you why I'm a fan, and we'll have Terry come on. I'm going to geek out a little bit today because right here beside me, and I didn't put this here just for this interview. I've had it here for like a year, okay? This book right here, and I've referred to it on the show, 75. Can you see it okay? It's a little blurry.
That's blurring out a little bit. Down there we go.
75 masterpieces every Christian should know by, hold on. I don't know why it's blurry. That's strange. By
you've got the blurry.
Glaspey. We have Terry here with us. This is an amazing book. It'll take you through wonderful art. These are short articles, but they go deep, and they take you to a great architecture, great paintings, great music, just great art of all these masterpieces. They tell a little bit about the story about who created it, their spiritual journey, and it's just a beautiful, inspiring book. And I have savored this book every week, every Sunday. One of my favorite things to do is to look at this book. I'll take one chapter. I will savor that chapter. We're talking about music, like Handel. Okay, so I'll read about Handel, and then I'll go on the line. I'll listen to Handel's music, all the ones that Terry recommended. Okay, so I'm geeking out already, but Terry himself, the guy who wrote the book, a little blurry, but it's there. Okay,
it's less blurry in person.
Yes, exactly. Terry, it is such an honor to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's
All
such a
right.
pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Oh man. I
Yeah.
tell you, Terry, Tori was the one who recommended this book a while back. And ever since then, I've been savoring every chapter. And see, I got my little bookmark here. See the little bookmark right at the end. And
Yeah.
that is the last chapter I just read 2 weeks ago. So this is like perfect timing. And where I got hooked, I just loved the book from the start. But where I got hooked was on this. I sure hope this is not going to be blurry. But on this page, this is the,
Ooh.
how do you say that? The windows of Saint Chappelle. How you say it, Terry?
Saint Chappelle. Saint
What?
Chappelle.
Saint Chappelle.
Yep.
This is this one. When I saw the inside of this chapel here, it took me to another world, and that's how Terry does. This book. I always tell my students that great art inspires great art.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a writer, get around great sculpture, great masterpieces, great music. That's great while you're writing, or just feed your creativity with great art from other disciplines, and it will inform your art. So I want to stop talking because I'm just too excited and I'm geeking out way too much. But Terry, what was your inspiration for this book?
Well, somebody once asked me, how long did it take you to write this book? Because they assumed I was going to say, probably a couple years. And though I've written other books in and around it, I've been working on this one, I would say probably for about 30 years.
Wow.
Wow.
So, it's been quite an undertaking to take a look at some of the art and literature and music and architecture and film that have had an impact on our world, and especially those pieces of art, those masterpieces that were created by people who were believers. And the arts have meant so much to me. They've been a place where I've really connected with God, and they've been something that's really helped me to grow, expand my way of thinking, build my understanding, touch me in the heart as well as the head.
Yes.
And so I just thought, how can I share some of this joy that I've found with other people? And I thought, I don't want to write a big academic book.
Right. Yes. Yes.
I want, because a lot of people, so the minute you start talking about the arts, they get kind of
Yeah.
scared. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, yeah, this is going to be very hard. This is going to be very, we're going to talk about very difficult things here, and pardon the terrible accent there.
Pretty good.
but there's that sense of like, oh, well, that's for other people, that, and I wanted to say, no, the arts are for everybody.
Yes.
The arts
Yes.
can have an impact on everybody's life.
Mhm.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I thought, okay, so how do I do this? And I thought, well, why don't I focus on just some of the greatest masterpieces that were
Yes.
created by believers? So that was my first thing, is it has to be created by a believer, which
Right.
that cut out a lot of possibilities. And I just focused on art by believers. And so, and then I decided I would only have one piece of art or music or literature represent. I mean, because some great creatives, all their stuff is great, but I just picked
Yes.
one to
Yes.
represent Tolstoy, one to represent C.S. Lewis, one to represent Bach, etc. And so at first I had a list of 101, and I got a publisher who was interested, but they said, oh, that's too many. And so we argued about it. We got it down to 75, and had to let go of some ones I really loved. I could easily write another book of 75.
Yeah, I was like, I smell a part 2 coming.
I
Is
do
what I'm
too. Oh my
smelling.
goodness. I want to see the missing 26 there. I want to see that. Well, Terry, you took us all the way from the paintings in the Roman catacombs, and this is all in chronological, it goes through the ages. So this is from circa 300 all the way to the last chapter I just read, which was The Tree of Life, Terrence Malick. There's a film produced in 2011. And you just take us to the ages. It's just a fascinating journey. It's a joy. And by the way, I need to properly introduce you. So may I do that for a moment, please?
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly.
I just got
Certainly,
excited
yeah.
and jumped right in here. Terry Glaspey is the author. He's authored over a dozen books, 75 masterpieces, which I am geeking out over, as you can hear. He also did Discovering God Through the Arts. That's the next one. I want to get that one. He's won national awards for that. Christianity Today Book Award. He also wrote Not a Tame Lion: The Life, Teachings, and Legacies of C.S. Lewis. By the way, I got to
That
see
one, that one I'm going to have to read.
Oh my
I'm going to
goodness.
have to, now that I've heard the
Oh.
title, I have to read it because that is one of my favorite quotes from
Not a
Lewis,
Tame
and it
Lion.
came from
Yes.
Lewis. Yeah, Lewis.
Yes.
And it came from a beaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came from a beaver. I love that. I just saw Lewis and Tolkien, the play written by Dean Batali. Amazing play in LA. They're hoping to hit the road with it. I think you would really enjoy that. It was like you're in the pub at Eagle and Child and you're overhearing the conversation with Tolkien and Lewis. It was fascinating. The Prayers of Jane Austen, and he's got one the Prayer Basics for Everyone. So he's a professor at Northwind Theological Seminary. Is that in Eugene, Oregon? Is that correct?
No, that's actually out of Florida. It's a completely online graduate school for people who already have their bachelor's degree, who want to go on and get a master's or a doctorate. And I particularly teach in a program on spiritual formation, focusing on how we can use the arts to help us grow spiritually and how to train other people to do that, something I love. As well as I teach in a doctoral program on C.S. Lewis and the Inklings.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
so
Yes.
I love those. I love those dudes.
Oh my goodness. I got to get you connected with my friend Mark Hamby, Dr. Mark Hamby with Lamplighter Guild. I got to get you connected. I think you would be amazing. They do some wonderful work there. Terry's spoken at churches, universities, conferences throughout the US, Canada, Britain, Taiwan. And I love what you say here. Terry believes that arts are for everyone and can be used to change lives and change culture. And I love that. In fact, I want to tap into that a little bit, Terry. Tell me, why is art important? Why? And usually when school systems are cutting out, oh, we got to make budget cuts, one of the first things they'll cut is the arts. Why is that a mistake? Why are arts important for our culture?
Well,
is it just about entertainment, or is there something more going on?
Well, I think, the problem is that a lot of times we think of art purely as something to entertain us, or maybe something we use for, to beautify our lives. Maybe we pick a painting because, well, it matches the drapes, or it goes good with the sofa, or we like to put music on that we can listen to in the background. Or sometimes we use it purely for propaganda purposes. Like we have a message, we want to get that message across, and so we use the arts to do that. And I think definitely the arts can be a good way of delivering a message, but it's the subtlety and the beauty with which the arts deliver that message. I think that's what makes the difference. Because thinking, for example, and I mean, it's easy to beat up on, Christian films and Christian books, and because sometimes some of them are not very good. That's true. The great thing is there's a lot of really good work now being done, really creative work. But where the arts really are effective is when they do an end run around all of the walls that we build to keep God out. And by their subtlety, they get past all these things that we get in the way, right? And they move us in unexpected ways. We suddenly will find ourselves seeing the world through the eyes of a painter or a filmmaker or a musician or a writer. We'll be seeing the world through their eyes and suddenly realize, whoa, wait a minute. There's a different way to look at the world. And see, that's why I think the great art that's really well done can be so effective in changing people's hearts.
Wow, that's beautifully put.
Wow.
Tell me, as you were writing the book, or as you were discovering, going on this journey of all these masterpieces, the 75 masterpieces every Christian should know, as you're going through that, tell me something that surprised you in your journey, or something that was, you say unexpected. I love that word unexpected. That's part of the mystery of, one of the things I love about God is the unexpected. There's always the expected, this, like his character, his love will never change. His faithfulness always there. That's rock. But the way he expresses love or his faithfulness, he always does it in surprising ways. He's like a new song, a new wineskin, I'm doing a new thing, behold, new creation. He's always about something surprising. But what's something unexpected?
Well,
If I could circle back to Tolkien a little bit, I mean, his first chapter for his the first book in Middle Earth is The Unexpected Party.
I love that. Yes. Yes. I love that sense of that. Yeah. So what was unexpected for you in your journey?
I mean, one of the things that's unexpected is you'd think, by listening to a lot of people talk today, that Christianity has been kind of this little side issue in our culture that hasn't really had that much impact. But what I'd love to challenge you to do is go to an art museum and think about, what if I took away all of the art that was talking about religious issues, telling religious stories that draws upon the Bible or on church history? I mean, the walls would be bare almost.
Wow.
I mean, it's the same thing with music. I mean, if you look at the great tradition of classical music in particular, I mean, so much of the music was created for churches or or for putting forth religious creating religious experiences for the listener.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, over and over again. And so that's one of the things that totally really shocked me when I got to really looking, is how impactful Christianity has been on the whole tradition of the arts.
Wow. Wow.
And
Music
how much variety there is. That
yes,
was the
architecture, the sculptures is like, yeah. And there's one a prominent, I'm not going to refer to who it is, a prominent Christian filmmaker who talks about art versus impact. He says, what are we about as Christian? Is it art or is it impact? And his argument is, it's about impact. We need to make an impact on people, bring them to Jesus, kind of thing. And my argument is, create great art and the art will do the impact. And it's like it, and to say, like, if you create, okay, excuse my crudeness here, but if you create, like, a lot of it is Christian craft. When I look, through the ages today, it's a lot of Christian crap. And it's like, and the problem there is, like, people of the world are not going to come to schlocky stuff. They're not going to come to sleazy not sleazy. It's not sleazy, but it's just schlocky, just kind of Christian propaganda. They don't come to that. But if you create something that is so stunning, it's so beautiful, that even if you disagree with the message, you got to see the art, because and as you contemplate, as you look up at the Sistine Chapel, you're contemplating that gap between the fingers, and you're thinking about God. Even if you don't believe him, you got to contemplate him as you're looking up, right? Anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the whole art versus impact, it's a totally false dichotomy. I mean, really, as you're saying, the impact comes from really great craftsmanship.
Yes.
We do the best work that we can do as a writer, as a filmmaker, as a musician, whatever your creative form is. You do the very best work you can do with subtlety, with respect toward the person that you're. I mean, I can think of, like, I can think of some Christian films I've seen that they very clearly show that the filmmaker did not respect the audience of unbelievers.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, he just spoke. Bryan, didn't he speak what I just came out of my mouth? Like, we're
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
We-
exactly. We're not respecting the intelligence of our audience. We're just, oh, we got to hammer. Jesus respected his audience. And he's
Which
like, he says,
absolutely.
if they have an ear to hear, they'll get it. If they're tuned in, they'll get, if they don't get it, it's okay. They'll hear a great story and it'll be like a seed. It'll go off, or like a little bomb, a little time bomb will go
It's
off.
a time bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think the parables were. They were like these little time bombs. Jesus told this story, usually not really a religious story. It was
No,
just-
no mention of God in them. Yeah. Yeah.
and then they were created in such a way that sometimes they got them immediately, but oftentimes it's clear from how the disciples respond. They didn't really get what he was talking about right away.
That's his disciples, the closest ones to him, are
Right,
not getting it.
right.
They're scratching their heads. Yeah.
But what happens down the road? It's like, I think it's like several days later, a week later, a year,
Yeah.
maybe. Suddenly, boom, it goes
Ooh.
up, and there's suddenly that recognition of something powerful and beautiful and life-changing. And it's like, oh, I get it. And in fact, I would almost say, I wouldn't totally say this, but almost would say that if you can get everything that the artist is delivering immediately, it's probably not very good art. It's probably not art that's really going to change your life. It's those subtleties that are built in that later on make the impact. Things that you have to think about. I mean, like, you think about C.S. Lewis and the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yes.
I mean, why tell stories about animals? Why not just give sermons? Well, for that matter, why didn't Jesus just give sermons, right?
Yeah. I mean, he
Good
did on
point.
occasion, but he
Yeah,
had the
he
benefit
did.
of being Jesus.
But even his sermons were filled with what?
With story,
Story,
yes,
right?
exactly. He
Right?
didn't go
And-
anywhere without sharing a story. I read that in Matthew. He didn't go anywhere without sharing a parable.
Yeah.
Everywhere he went. Yeah.
And so, but you read these stories, these children's stories in Narnia, and it's like some of it you get right away, and other parts, maybe as a child, you don't really get it all. But later on, you hear the stories of Jesus and you go, oh, yeah, that connects with what Aslan said.
Yes.
or
The
did.
light bulb goes on. Like you're saying, Brian, you're not a tame lion. I love that. It's like you think about God, he's not tame. And I just his sense of that sense of mystery and surprise and power and just like, oh, it's amazing.
It's a part of that quote. It's he's not a tame lion, but that's not the only part of the quote. He's not a tame lion, but he's good.
Oh yes, and good is
And
not.
that is
Yeah.
the comforting part. And as a matter of fact, I was just I was thinking about the art piece you showed me from the book, the big Sistine,
The stained glass window.
the stained glass windows. It's the design choice of those cathedrals, from what I understand from studying church history, is those buildings, those cathedrals were built very intentionally, because when you walk into the cathedral, the art itself makes you do something.
Exactly.
You know what that thing is?
What?
Look up.
Yes, look, yes, I love that. I love that.
And it
Yes.
reminds you of, it's not just you. There's the grandeur of God is above you. Don't forget it.
I love that. I love that. St. Paul's Cathedral's like that. That's true.
The medieval thinker Gregory said that the point of the great cathedrals was to be able to create something so that the illiterate, those people who couldn't read the stories for themselves, they could see and experience the stories there in the architecture, in the windows. So in other words, these are like a secondary way of communicating the stories. And I mean, when you think about it, think about our own culture. Yeah, there aren't that many people that are illiterate in that they can't literally read. But think about how many people there are in our world now who are illiterate when it comes to the things of Scripture. You don't know them at all. And it's like they're probably not going to go search those out for themselves. So what do? oftentimes as Christians, we try to push it on them, right?
Mhm.
And instead of pushing it on them, how about creating something that invites them into another world, into another realm of thinking and seeing and perception, so that they begin to understand what it's really all about, and so that
Mhm.
they want to come. I mean,
Yes, yes.
most people really don't come to faith because they're argued into it.
Oh,
They
yeah.
come to faith because their heart is moved by
Yes,
something they hear or see or experience, right?
yes. C.S. Lewis is a good example of that. And you know this is like
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis. Here's an atheist. He's an atheist. He's reading a fantasy book, not a Christian fantasy book, but a fantasy book. George MacDonald, Fantastes, I think is how you say it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's reading that book as a fantasy book. There's no mention of God in it, but George MacDonald was a theologian. He was a pastor, and it's the truth is in there. It's in there, and he saw a glimpse of holiness. And it
Yep.
started him on his quest for Christian, for becoming a Christian. It started with a piece of art. It started with a book, a well-written book, changed this atheist into one of the foremost writers of our age. Just like it started with a book. Yeah,
And
a fantasy book. Yeah.
he said of that book, he said it baptized his imagination. He said
Ooh.
he
Ooh,
said it
whoa.
took a while for the rest of me to finally get to that place, but that at that moment, as he read that book, his imagination was baptized. It was like, as you
Oh,
said, it was that first step on the journey. So oftentimes we feel like we've got to take people the entire journey. And we've got
mm,
like 5 minutes and we've got to take them and we got to tell them the whole story. We got to unload all the theology, explain the entire thing,
uh-huh.
and no, it's just like it's that moving and people one step at a time. And
I
the
love it.
interesting thing is that George MacDonald, who wrote that book, actually was himself a Christian, a
Yep.
very deep Christian. But here's a book that he wrote in which his Christianity was latent within it.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the surface. It was
No, it
the
was
depth of it.
yes, yes.
It's the same thing with J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yes,
It's like Tolkien was a deep and profoundly Christian believer, and
yes.
yet he put it into the subtlety, into the story, and
Mhm.
that redemptive message gets through to people who would never step foot in church to hear the
Yes.
word,
With
but they might
Tolkien,
with Tolkien. Yep.
but
Yes.
with Tolkien, I would even take it a step further because he was very confused. Because the purpose of him writing the book was he was just a guy wanting to tell a long story, to tell a tale, and so he wanted to do it with the best of his knowledge. And this is my understanding of Tolkien. To the best of his knowledge. And he was really surprised that people like hippies, the hippie movement in the 70s, latched onto his story because, like, this is a deeply Catholic Christian story. Why are you so interested in it? It's like, yeah, because it's good, man. It's something like that. But
It's far out, probably. Yeah.
he could, yeah, it's real far out. He cordially hated allegory, which was
Yes.
made famous by one of his letters. But it's just ultimately his worldview made it into the story whether he wanted it to or not. Essentially, he wasn't going out to write a Christian story, he was just going out to write a good story, and Christianity came along with it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryan, I want to give you a chance to ask because I just recalled something. By the way, real quick, the George MacDonald thing. Here I'm telling Terry about George MacDonald. You know where I got the information? From his book. So I'm
Oh, there you
just
go, there you go.
like, wait, where did I get? Oh, I read that in your book, Terry. So I'm telling you all about George. I can tell you all about him, Terry. And I got the information from your book. So I got to share something with you. I got to go grab it out of my living room, but feel free to ask Terry a question. I'm going to grab something. I want to show you how I was inspired by your book here. I'm going to show you something here. I'll be right back. Bryan,
Oh
ask
no.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I will gladly ask a question. In modern times, there are artful movies that have been made in the past 30 years. Lord of the Rings, and you could probably Lord of the Rings, our viewers know that that's my favorite movies of all time. Great art. Great art, great stories. But with the popularity of YouTube and TikTok and Shorts, there's definitely the drive to push content. And you hear that term a lot, is pushing content. Got to get content out to engage. What would you say the difference between content and art is? Is there a difference? Can art be content? Can content be art? Where is that disconnect there? Because there's not a lot of what I could say art that is, there has been, but not a lot that has come out in the past. Any comments on that? Any insight?
That's a great question, and one that if I thought about it for a while, I could probably give a better answer than what I'll come up with right now. But what I would say is that content, anything can be content. Art is the delivery form for the artistry is the delivery form of the content, and you can do just something that's full of cliches that has copies what's been done before. You can do something that way oversimplifies really complex experiences of human life. All of that is still content, but the artistry is what makes it resonate within people's hearts.
Okay.
And I
I
think
love
what
that.
makes it resonate is that it's truly human. That our goal as Christian artists should be art that is incarnational. Okay? What do I mean by that? Just like the incarnation is that God became flesh in the person of Jesus. So the realities of theology can become incarnated in our stories most effectively by making them truly human. The problem, I think, sometimes with a lot of Christian film especially, but and Christian novels, I think this is true too, is that they're not very true to the real complexity of human experience. Good guys are good, bad guys are bad, right? And and it's all simple.
Yes. And in the Bible, we have people like David, who's like a great guy who did like one of the worst scandalous things you can imagine. It's like yeah, he'd be ostracized today. And what he did was awful, just terrible, but he's one of the, I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but it's just like, yeah, I'm relating. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's that I think when we read the Bible, we love David, right?
Yes.
We love David, even though we see his faults. And I often have thought that the problem is that like the bad characters are just purely bad in so much of what we do.
Yes.
And I speak oftentimes at writers' conferences. And one of the things I tell writers is if you're working in fiction, you need to love the bad characters as much as you love the good characters in your
goodness, that's brilliant. Yes.
You need to love them the way that God loves you.
Oh my goodness, that's
and that when you can
that's really good.
That's good.
Yeah, when you do that, the character is believable and rich and full, and the darkness, there's darkness in all of us. There's struggle.
Yes, hello. Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
we identify with the character who has feet of clay.
He's
one
flawed.
who's the super saint. We don't actually identify very much with them. We might say, well, I wish I was like that, but they don't seem very real to us unless the hard work is done. So let me just make one real quick comment about because it's since we've been negative about it, let me talk about The Chosen, which I think is a piece of art that does a great job of making the biblical stories and the biblical characters human. And because we identify with them, the stories take on a whole extra resonance and power within our hearts.
It's truly, I love it. Oh, Terry,
If I could interject one of my favorite stories that just slots in completely, it's People are often surprised when I say this is my favorite Christian story, and I would say I do like the story probably more than Lord of the Rings from like a merely Christian perspective. And it's not the book, it's the musical adaptation of the book. And that's Les Miserables.
Oh, yes.
By Victor Hugo. I
Yeah.
absolutely adore that because your main antagonist isn't actually the villain. Javert, I had the privilege of playing him when I did theater, and he's not and I'll trick people with this. I'll ask, well, who's the bad guy? Who's the villain in Les Miserables? And I'll often get it's Inspector Javert. And I'm like, no. He's the antagonist. He's the one constantly pursuing Jean Valjean. But the real villains of the story are the Thénardiers, because they don't believe in God. They are the true villains of the story. They are the godless ones. Javert, while unguided and improperly guided, he's not godless. He thinks he's serving God, whether true or not. You can make that argument. Mm-hmm. And it's my favorite Christian story because the name of the story is translated literally to The Miserable Ones or The Miserable. And at the end of the musical, when Jean Valjean is dying, he is at death's door, he says, now I can die in peace because I know my life was blessed. Mm-hmm. And the entire story is about his miserable life. Wow. And because if he can look to God and find hope, why can't we?
That's good.
And I adore that story. I'm sorry. I had to get that out there.
It's great stuff. Terry, we got to have you back. Would you come back?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We want to talk about like how I would let you talk about specifically talking to writers. So we've talked about art in general, but want to focus on writers for our next show. But before we do, I want to show you something I grabbed out of my living room, inspired by you, Mr. Terry, Dr. Terry. And this is, you'll recognize this right off. I don't know if you can see it right here. This is The Wanderer Above a Deep Sea of Fog. Like Caspar, what's Caspar Weinreich? Was it Caspar Friedrich? That's it. Yeah.
Caspar David Friedrich.
Yes. I saw this in your book and I had to get it. And what I do is for my classes, for some of my writing classes, I'll have people look at that and I say, what do you see? And each person sees something different. They'll see the rocks below, or they see the mountains far off, or they see, oh, he's got a cane, or look, they see different things. And what I found is, as they're looking at this piece of art, they see something of themselves in their journey. They don't realize it when they're, So thank you. You inspired me to, that's one piece of art that I keep looking at and keep drawing from. And it's because of your book that woke me up to that. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh man, Terry, it is such a joy to have you on the show. We got to have you back. It's like, so if you wouldn't mind, can you do one more for us?
Let's do another one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And Terry, thank you for being with us. It has been such a joy, such an honor to have you. And Bryan, I need to give you a chance to speak too. I've just been geeking out all over the place.
You're nerding out. I get it.
I'm just nerding out too much here. But Terry, thank you for being with us. Thanks for investing your time in us right here. And also all our listeners and all our watchers, all our viewers here for Story Chat. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it and enjoyed the time.
All right. And make sure, I've been hyping the book. He's not paying me to do this, okay? Just to let you know, I just love this book. 75 Masterpieces Every Christian Should Know. And he's got another one. My next book, I want to get Discovering God Through the Arts. And Bryan and I want to get this one too. Not a Tame Lion, The Life, Teachings, and Legacies of C.S. Lewis. He's got some other books too. But Dr. Terry Glaspey. It's Glaspey. So awesome. And we're going to have you back, and we're going to talk about how do we talk to writers? How do we inspire writers with art? And what do you see that connection there? So we'll have you back. So thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Story Chat. If you want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions for John or feedback on the show, please email us at storychatwithjohn@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.